Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. And depending on which day I drop this on, I've consistently been doing Tuesdays. Tomorrow will be a holiday, and the following day is another holiday. I'm sure, based on what's present, you know one of those holidays that I'm referring to. And all I have to say is you're a wizard, Harry. No, May the 4th be with you. And the other holiday is Cinco de Mayo. And you might be like, Aaron, how are you celebrating that? Number one, and number two is what we're making today, which is gonna be enchiladas. That is surprisingly good for the first time I've actually made a margarita. Which, that statement might surprise some of you, because last year on Cinco de Mayo, I posted a picture with the same cup and a margarita that I seemingly made for Cinco de Mayo. All lies. It's pure lies. I find myself very clever for what I did. You can, for the few of you that, or I shouldn't say few, I'm assuming all of you, because right now it's just people that I know watching this. If you look at like my actual Instagram, not the show's Instagram, and you go back a year, you'll see me holding a green margarita. Mostly because I felt like it completed the picture. It was kind of a last minute addition for the whole tacos and whatnot that I made. All it is ice, blue Gatorade, and then I was like, I need it to be green, and I don't have food dye, because why would I have that? And I looked through my pantry, and I found, where is it? Turmeric, because I know that this turns things yellow, and I remember in kindergarten, blue plus yellow gives you green. And so I made a green margarita, which was just blue Gatorade and turmeric. It worked. It looked believable. Did not taste that great, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. So then you might be thinking, Aaron, if this is your first time making a margarita, you bought tequila just for a bit? Yes and no, I will say. Yes, I bought it mostly for this, but it more pushed me to buy it because I'm like, I should do this. And then I also want to make, there's an ice cream recipe that I want to make that uses tequila. I'm pretty much just building up my alcohol collection purely on ice cream that I make. So I've made a bourbon ice cream, I made a rum ice cream, I'm gonna make a tequila ice cream. I need to find a vodka ice cream. That feels more like a popsicle. I don't know why. But yeah, so yes, I bought tequila for a bit, but it'll be used for a good cause. And the final worry that I'm sure you have, or maybe the only worry, I don't think anything else is really a worry, but you're like, Aaron, I'm assuming you're filming this on a Tuesday because it works out well in my schedule to film on Tuesdays. Where's your tie-dye? You're breaking the law. Oh, I can't bend my leg that high. Well, I have tie-dye socks on, so you'll have to believe me because I can't get my feet up as high as I need my camera to see my face. And you'll just have to take my word on it that I have tie-dye socks on. So you're probably like, Aaron, enough rambling about the shenanigans you're up to. Start talking about what we're doing today. And I'm sure from the title, you probably already pieced together, and I'm sure the thumbnail. I don't really set myself up for the reveal at this moment, but it is what it is. Obviously, enchiladas. We're making enchiladas. With a slight twist to make it gluten-free. The twist for me is because my body broken and I can't have gluten. I have to use corn tortillas, which are teeny tiny little things, versus like a flour tortilla, which is nice for making enchiladas because you can roll it up. Corn tortillas don't really roll too well, so instead of rolling the enchiladas up, I'm making a casserole. Close enough. So this is a enchilada casserole, which effectively is just layers. So it's like tortilla, filling, cheese, layer, tortilla, and then, essentially it's enchilada lasagna, which is a fun little phrase to say. I recommend you try saying it. It's kind of a tongue twister, or I can't just, exhibit A, just then, I can't speak, so maybe I just struggle with saying simple things. But enchilada, see? Couldn't say it then. Tell me, is it difficult for you, or is it just me? My money's on just me. This recipe, kind of similar to last week's, you can also make vegan and vegetarian pretty easily. This sauce will use chicken broth or chicken stock, but you can sub that out for like vegetable stock pretty easily. And then for like the recipe proper, it uses chicken and cheese. So like obviously for the vegetarian version, just take out the chicken, ideally replace it with some other kind of vegetable-based protein, or just I guess more beans. And for the vegan, it would be the chicken and also the cheese, which the recipe itself actually says without the cheese, it's still like really good. Or you can obviously use like vegan cheese. I've never had vegan cheese. I know it exists. I'm sure it'll go fine in this situation. But once again, we're in a similar situation of I'll just show you the ingredients, and then you can just be like, I don't eat that, so I'm not going to use it, and we'll move on with our lives. I will kind of show you, I'll split it up, so it's going to be like the sauce and then the enchilada itself, just so it's not confusing of like what ingredients are going where. Flour, chili powder, garlic powder, cumin, oregano, some chicken stock, sea salt, white onion, red bell pepper, 2 cans of beans, 1 can of corn, chicken, corn tortillas, Monterey Jack cheese, green onions, avocados, cilantro. So I read the recipe, well, I guess recipes because there's technically 2. And the game plan is first up, make the sauce, which in and of itself needs a little tiny game plan. And that's just make a roux, which is just oil and flour. And you want to constantly whisk that. You don't want to let that just do its own thing, just keep whisking it. And then after like a minute of that, you add in the spices and then cook that up for a little bit. I think still whisking constantly. And then you want to slowly add in the chicken broth, and it slowly so that it doesn't, so you get rid of any lumps that might form. And then you want to get that up to a simmer on the stove top, and then leave it at a simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. And then obviously you can do some things in parallel, which I didn't because filming. I believe in you to figure out that for your own. So then after making the sauce, it's going to be cut the onion and the bell pepper. Then it's cook the onion and the bell pepper, and then add in pretty much all the other ingredients. So it's going to be, I think 2 cups of the sauce, and then the beans, the corn, and the chicken all into a pot, mix that together, and then remove that from the heat. And then you want to kind of prep your pan, so just like a little bit of oil on its 9x13. And then you want to start making like the casserole itself. So then it's put a layer of tortilla, and then you put the chicken mix, and then some cheese, shredded cheese, which in my case I shredded myself. You can buy pre-shredded. So then the cheese, and then that's like one layer, and then you do more tortilla, chicken, cheese. And then the final layer, you pour some enchilada sauce that's remaining on top. And then you cook it for 20 minutes covered with foil, then 10 minutes uncovered, and then garnish and enjoy. That's all the steps. And now you'll see them. Okay, so like I said in the game plan, the first step is to make the sauce. And so within that first step, we're going to make the roux. So that's, just whisking the flour and the oil together. Now that we have the roux going, next we want to add in all the spices. Now that we have the spices all mixed in, we want to slowly mix in the chicken broth so that we don't have any lumps. All right, now we want to simmer the sauce for 10 to 15 minutes. So now we're going to cut the onion and the bell pepper. All right, now that we cut the onion and the bell pepper, we want to put that on the stove top and just cook until, I guess, tender is the word. It doesn't feel right, but cook until it's cooked. You'll know when it's done. It's like, I think, 5 minutes. Just stir it occasionally. You know what you're doing. You've gotten this far. You got this. All right, now that the onion and the bell pepper is cooked, we want to add in pretty much all the other ingredients. So now that the casserole filling is done and we have the enchilada sauce, and hopefully if you have to shred cheese, it's been shredded. So all of those are done. So now we're gonna assemble it into the pan in the layers of tortilla, filling, cheese, repeat. So now that the casserole has been fully assembled, we're going to put it, we're gonna cover it with foil, and then we're gonna put it in the oven for 20 minutes, and then uncover it, and then cook it for another 10. It's finished baking. I took it out. I personally let it cool off a little bit before putting the garnishes on top. I feel like, so I put on cilantro, green onions, and avocado, and I feel like it could use some like red onion just to give it some variety of color, because right now it's a uniform green. I mean, you can see that's all green. I mean, it's a delicious green, but it's all green. But look at that. It's gonna be tasty. But score. So for this recipe, it's like, in my opinion, it's a fun one. You're kind of involved in most of the steps along the way. You're not sitting idle too much, I guess, when it's baking, but in my case, while it's baking, I was filming stuff. Oh, I also have to like you can like clean up, like do the dishes, stuff like that. Make yourself a margarita. It's a fun recipe to make. Pretty easy. I don't really think there's anything too complicated going on. It's usually a fast recipe when I'm not filming. Like, I thought it was gonna be much quicker, even with the filming, than it was. But here we are. And it reheats well, so like this is gonna be some good lunches for the week. However, for me personally, I mean, granted, you guys could pretty much do the exact same recipe, but make it proper enchiladas. But to me, it makes me miss the good old gluten days of when I could have like a flour tortilla and kind of have like an actual enchilada, because eating it this, like in the casserole style, makes it feel a bit like as if like the enchilada or when your like burrito falls apart and you have to eat it with a fork. It just doesn't feel like how it should. So that being said, I'd give this like a 4 out of 5, which still a good score. I'd recommend you make it, and I mean, you got time. It's not Cinco de Mayo yet. You can run out to the store tomorrow and cook it up. So that being said, I'd like to eat dinner before it's tomorrow, because it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I don't know how, but here we are. I'm going to go eat my weight in food. Bye, Mom. Still not dead. See ya.